Coverage as we bring to your screens our weekly news. Millennium TV News, your trusted source for reliable news. Tune in every Sunday at 12:30 hours only on Millennium TV.
Visibility doesn't just grow your brand, it grows your borders. At the Farmers Choice Awards Summit and Expo Africa, your business is not limited to one market. It's positioned before farmers, delegates, investors, and agro-dealers from across the continent. From Lusaka to the rest of Africa, the right platform changes everything. Exhibit, connect, and be recognized. The Farmers Choice Awards Summit and Expo Africa is a pan-African platform designed to spotlight excellence in agriculture while creating real opportunities for growth across the continent. This is where it all comes together. The summit bringing together policymakers, industry experts, investors, and innovators to shape the future of agriculture in Africa. The Expo, a dynamic marketplace where agribusinesses, SMEs, and organizations showcase products, services, and innovations, creating pathways for partnerships, market access, and investment. And the awards celebrating individuals and institutions driving agriculture transformation through innovation, value addition, and entrepreneurship. From farmers to agribusiness leaders, government representatives, development partners, financial institutions, and exhibitors from across Africa, this is where connections are made and opportunities are unlocked. Join us in Lusaka, Zambia at the Lusaka Showgrounds main arena from the 22nd to the 24th of April 2026. Whether you're looking to learn, connect, or grow your business, this is where Africa's agriculture future comes together. Be part of it.
A lovely good morning. You're still watching Millennium TV. Welcome to the Business Day on Millennium Television. Do catch us on your top study quarters on channel 95. And on our Facebook page, we are Millennium TV Zambia. This morning, we look at the surge in oil prices on the international market and its effect on Zambia's economy. My name is Lovisa Chilufia, and of course, joining me today via call is Mr. Kelvin Sanga, an economist. But before we get to speak to Mr. Sanga, allow me to just quickly run through some of the stories that are making headlines today on the Business Day. We have MTN Zambia has launched the Winanyumba na Momo promotion, a nationwide campaign aimed at rewarding customers for using mobile money services, with prizes ranging from monthly cash rewards to a grand prize of a brand new house. And speaking during the launch, Chipoka Mlenga, Minister of Commerce, Trade and Industry, said mobile money remains a critical driver of financial inclusion, providing accessible financial services to individuals, households, and rural areas. He added that the promotion demonstrates how digital innovation can enhance participation in the formal financial system without creating barriers. Meanwhile, Komba Malukutila, Chief Executive Officer of MTN Money, says the initiative is a way of appreciating customers for making Momo part of their daily lives. And speaking at the same event, Michael Krupkin, Chief Executive Officer of Mikma Investment Limited, said the company is proud to partner in an initiative that supports home ownership. And moving on, also government says it will this year host a national cosmetology expo aimed at promoting skills, creativity and business growth in the beauty industry. Permanent Secretary in the Ministry of Small and Medium Enterprise Development, Subeta Mtelo, said the event will provide a platform for makeup artists, hairdressers and nail technicians to showcase their products and services. Speaking at an entrepreneur's business branch in Lusaka yesterday, hosted by businesswoman Sarah Marco, Mtelo said the expo is intended to elevate the cosmetology sector and create opportunities for practitioners. And she added that the initiative is part of a broader effort to recognize skills-based professions as viable sources of income and employment. In a light remark, she added that she did her own makeup and it shows that these are skills anyone can learn and turn into a business. Meanwhile, Mutelo urged entrepreneurs to take advantage of the 515 million kwacha set aside this year to support micro, small and medium enterprises, MSMEs. And those are some of the stories that are making headlines this morning on the business day. And as I said, Mr. Kelvin Sanga is joining me via call this morning to look at the surging oil prices on the international market and, of course, what its impact is on Zambia's economy. Mr. Sanga, good morning. Good morning, Mr. Sanga.
Good morning.
How are you doing this morning?
I'm good, and how are you doing?
I'm all right. Thank you so much for making time for us and for speaking to me this morning on the business day.
So it's my pleasure.
All right. Mr. Sanga, there are reports that oil prices have surged past $103 a barrel after the U.S. announced its blockade of Iran. We want to speak to how this surge in oil prices on the international market affects Zambia's economy.
Okay, so the beginning point that the current surge in the global market deeply reflects the current situation of the standing risk factor of the geopolitical aspect, which is quite overwhelming the market key fundamentals on both supply and demand factors. Which basically interplay to the global oil flow of about 20 million per barrel per day, has given a declining structure, which is significant now, bringing the aspect of inflation for Zambia, especially at the point when we are basically cooling down the inflation. So the transmission effect are both immediate and quantifiable. Obviously, what you see there is that the oil import factor accounts for a significant share of the import bill in the case of Zambia. So that in itself destructures the forex market key fundamentals, which basically now will be able to be reshaped, except at the point when the market is looking fragile. Even when you look at the governance as well as political atmosphere, it's very difficult for us to stabilizing the forex market factors at the point when we are actually in this situation. So from an economic point of view, this will not be actually be a position to say we'll be able to sustain supply or security of supply. It will create that potential supply shock, which will now underpin a number of goods and treatment that we have been able to see, except at the point when we know that logistically fuel interplays into the matrix of transportation, production, and many others in terms of business. So meaning what we see as the larger component of effect, it's a supply deficit which will be able to have a sharp pricing volatility aspect, meaning what we are going to see in the case right now is that will impact a massive effect on the economic structure for Zambia.
Let's speak to Cabinet's approval and declaration, Mr. Sanga, of removing VAT and excise duty on fuel imports, diesel as well as petrol. We know that government has taken this step at least to cushion the prices of fuel on the market in Zambia, but this also has a ripple effect on Zambia's economy. And other economists have projected that Zambia is set to lose millions of dollars in the 3 months period that the government has decided to suspend VAT and of course excise duty on imported fuel as well as petrol.
Okay, so for true, way before we could see the resumption of this war, because at the point when we had the edge of seeing this coming to a closure or some level of ceasefire, that gave a vibration, especially at the point when we know that Zambia has removed VAT as well as excise duty on the imports of fuel products or commodity. This, in essence, was a good framework, though, as you have hinted, it has a repercussion on the fiscal framework. We will be able to lose an average about 1.2 billion Zambian kwacha in the tenure of 3 months that this has been rendered. So meaning what you're seeing in the case now, even when you try to use those policy moderation and treatment in terms of trying to cool down the pressure. With the volatility or the fluctuation that we're able to see on the global market, this will have a minimum of bear effect, because obviously what we see working as a key complementing factor is that going forward, as long as this geopolitical risk factor is standing strong, we'll be able to see a fluctuation which will take place from time to time. And this now even brings the aspect of instability that is being created, which also igniting an element of inflation, meaning even when you look at the cross-board, maybe in African central banks, we are seeing that all this time they have been cooling off the interest rate. But because of what is taking place, it means there can be now a reversal of some sort. But in the case of Zambia's situation, I think it's causing us to start looking at how best can we work on inventory buffer mechanics or dynamics to ensure that we have a longer period of stock holding, so it's easier for us to actually predict even the pricing, key fundamental factor from there. Because if you look at the baseline market structure right now, we've got we almost created a balanced system of supply and demand, but at a point where we are not going to see it because we are not being able to be proactive in terms of stock holding. And much to this also, if you are looking at the market patterns, diesel might survive for some time with the aspect of what we have done in terms of policy levers, working out the ELP model of cost plus the reflective model. That can sustain for some time. But what we are going to see is a stream of adding some shortages in petrol, because petrol carries a longer logistic cost, starting from Dar es Salaam all the way to Zambia using the load system. But with the diesel, we bump into the pipeline, which actually has a better way and formulation of economics of scales, which works in a better formula from that perspective. But again, the factor here is that the global market oil has also got a two-layer factor in the case now. If we tend to have the closure of Strait of Hormuz, as it is being threatened right now, it also creates another key fundamental aspect of export for our commodities like copper and few other non-regional export items. So that also brings a difficult situation for us. So maybe the gist of the matter is that Zambia should look at the permanent oil supply channel. Again, also we need to look at how best can we come up with some other flexible policy measures that can actually be able to sit as a strategic response, which should be able to focus on long-term exposure, when it comes to energy diversity aspect and energy, the whole entire system. We need to start improving the efficiency and ensure that we also strengthen that macroeconomic environment that we have. So it's important to look from that perspective.
Just last week, Mr. Changa, we were informed that the oil prices had dropped to at least $100 per barrel. But the decision that government has made, in as much as they removed VAT and excise duty from the imports of fuel as well as petrol, diesel and petrol, does this have any effect on OMCs, especially that oil prices have continued to surge?
The OMC definitely will face an effect on the aspect to do with the petrol products, because petrol has got a thin margin costing structure, which will not be able to give them the quantifiable profitable effect. But if you look at even just the overall situation, I think with an aspect of intervention, which government is using policy at 40% in terms of interventions, that actually sitting very well to work the balance, except when you are looking at sustaining the fiscal discipline and also looking at saving the vulnerable out there. So that comes a very important intervention from the fiscal side. But again, it's important to look at a sustainability model that should be able to respond with adjustment that are so supportive as a subsidy in a way, but technically it's not something that we can actually be able to say it will stand relative to subsidy formula. So what I should be able to put across here is that at a point when we are even gearing up into active political campaign period, it's important to look at how best can we work out a model that can solidify the whole entire period. And much to this also, we need to gear up with the other energy diversification sources other than what we have actually been able to depend on. Right this moment, we are using about 80% of the Dar es Salaam, trade corridor. We need also to widen the base, trying to ensure that we also go the Namibia way to see how best we can use the port of Namibia for Dangote and few others, including even diesel from South Africa, that route where we can use Katima Mulilo or use Zimbabwe. So it's important to look at all this. Maybe the best to do is the government should be proactive to start creating synergy in terms of supply pressure, trying to ensure that in any way there must be a way where even when there is no Minister of Energy next month, maybe towards the end, the key figures in ministry like the Permanent Secretary and a few others should be able to coordinate with the fellow counterparts in the region to see how best they can navigate the situation to ensure that we have a proper supply synergy across the region so that we can actually be able to look at it from there. But again, let's do it for Zambia to look at what Tanzania is doing. Tanzania is building the reservoir, which will be able to hold enough for the region, so we can also equally participate from that perspective. And again, we also have to look at how best can we broaden the scope within our local market. Holding fuel for only less than 25 days of operational cover, it's not sufficient enough for this country, which is actually growing in this way. What we need to look into the aspect of trying to build for 90 days to actually make sure that we are really more predictable environment when it comes to fuel. Otherwise, from time to time, we'll be facing this external risk factor, especially when it comes to the changes that take place at the global market. Fuel aspect of transmission is quite immediate. The moment there is a disturbance in the pricing structure and benchmark, that also is immediately felt in the pipeline, with from that restriction. Meaning, even when we have fuel levy as a way of saving and acting as a stabilizing link in the case of Zambia, it also gets very supportive in the case, because obviously any temporal supply deficit definitely has an effect which cannot be able to be cushioned by the certain fuel levy which we are building up. The kind of stabilization fund that we have actually been able to put in place is moving at a slow pace, and that does not give an equal balanced effect that you want to be cultivated from there. So it's important to actually look at a permanent solution to this kind of situation that we have actually been able to face. Actually, at the point when we are even now looking into other factors like building up another refinery in Dola, it's important to quickly look at a model that can be more short-term based compared to what we are looking at medium term. And much more, maybe it's also need to look at energy diversification strategy, ensure that we have a policy treatment for importation of electric cars, so that we can also start widening the scope in terms of what we go for fuel oil, except with regards to passenger transport. If we can basically look at where we can promote buses to come in electrical forms and maybe create a policy flexibility around this in terms of import, that also can actually be able to cushion the pressure so that we can constrain the public finance that we are actually being able to see in terms of losing out on subsidies, indirect subsidies, and all those sort of things from that perspective. So my feeling here is that we need to improve supply chain efficiency, ensure that even when it comes to private sector interplay, government should play a part as well. Whenever the OMC, seeking for dollars to buy or to import fuel, there is always also a lag So there must be a way government should be able to intervene in a way that certain kinds of transactions of this nature, or even just the procurement cycle movements, should be quietly monitored, so that if there is any aspect of transaction in between, it's certainly mitigated from that point.
Right. What trickle-down effect does this have, the oil prices now surging on the international market? What trickle-down effect does it have on Zambian businesses?
Definitely, that will bring about distortion on the pricing output, meaning the effect that we see in most of the commodities will be able to disturb and distort the market patterns, be it from the raw materials resource point of view, because there won't be any smooth flow of items, because some items will be stuck because there is not enough sufficient transport that should be able to interplay from there, and much more the cost of getting factors also will be able to work out from there, meaning the transmission effect, as I mentioned, will be basically an immediate aspect that will be able to work out from there, meaning a 10% increment in oil may have factors to do with the cost of living, cost of doing business, and it just goes around that. So the volumes at the end of it will get to be affected in one or the other. So meaning what we should be able to say here is that it will intensify the aspect of inflation, even on the common goods like transport services. It also contributes indirectly to consumer pricing structure, meaning the sustained increment that we see, what a very huge magnitude effect to some of the things that we acquire at household every day. That in itself also will be able to slow down the consumption aspect on the business side, meaning the business will start now learning losses, because obviously what will happen at the end of it all, that the business won't be able to participate as they should be, because there is a large factor, which is actually a wait and see in essence. So if people are not buying things because there is an expensive tag which has been there, meaning across the board, we'll be able to see that things won't be able to move as they should. It will affect a number of business valuation from that perspective.
One last question, Mr. Tsanga. I know that government's decision to remove VAT and suspend excise duty on imported petrol as well as diesel is to cushion prices, fuel prices on the local market. But if the oil prices are surging now above $100, does this have any effect on our fuel prices as well in the country, as they will be exporting or importing it rather, because now they will be buying fuel oil at a very different price?
So yes, it will affect, because there is the current surge in oil prices, obviously being driven by this geopolitical tension. We understand pretty very well that any increment that happens right at the pump prices will be able to affect across the entire broader economy. And what we see basically, but just maybe to come back to the sense of what is involved in the fuel procurement logistics, we are talking of this premium, we are talking of the cost of buying just from there, which is that's a dollar donated. We're talking of quarter aspect also interplaying into this. So a number of different complementary factors at play. So meaning the pressure that is being felt at global level will also be a pressure that will be coming on domestic prices, which now aggregates to the matters of inflation, bringing the household welfare also in the situation. So the context here is that even when you look at the removal of VAT and import duty of fuel, it presents a compelling short-term intervention in a way that, again, that will not be able to be felt, even if we talk of accounting for about 40% of the pump prices in terms of the policy aspect in regards to the VAT as well as the excise duty in that comparative case. It's not something that will be able to give the 15% that was estimated to be achieved. just come to a level of maybe understanding to say, look, even if we have tried our best in terms of pricing, with the aspect of policy intervention, not that we can just give away that effect or that benefit. So even if we seem to have roasting the revenue between about 6 or even just less than that per annum in terms of billions of kwacha, the fact of the issue is that as long as this great contention is standing firmly strong, we should be able to see the losses that can actually be able to come. Even if we tend to find some stimulating effects that should be able to go down. But as long as we have this situation taking place, we're not able to save ourselves from high prices, aspect.
All right. Mr. Sanga, thank you so much for speaking to me this morning and for making time for Millennium TV.
My pleasure. Thank you so much.
All right. It has been economist Kelvin Sanga speaking to me this morning over the surge in fuel prices on the international market. The barrel is now going at $103 on the international market. Mr. Sanga was obviously speaking to us about how this affects Zambia's economy. And thank you so much for tuning in. We come to the end of the Business Day on Millennium TV. Thank you so much for joining me this morning on the Business Day. We also were live on our Facebook page, Millennium TV Zambia. So do catch the conversation there. Thank you so much for tuning in. My name is Lovisa Chulufel. See you at 13 hours on the National Pulse.
Stay informed with the latest developments shaping Zambia and the world. Bringing you stories that matter.
You will create business opportunities.
So, but the government
from the hearts of our communities. Join us for in-depth analysis, exclusive interviews, and comprehensive coverage as we bring to your screens our weekly news. Millennium TV News, your trusted source for reliable news. Tune in every Sunday at 12:30 hours, only on Millennium TV.
Beneath Zambia's soil lies more than metal. It holds a promise rising like the morning sun. A future forged by the strength of its people. KCM mines copper for the world. Yet our greatest treasure is here at home. We invest in knowledge. We invest in health. We invest in water, land, and the hands that will shape tomorrow. Konkola Copper Mines, safely mining copper for Zambia.